Good evening, friends. Today's topic is hit early, hit hard. Whom to hit? Your colleagues? Your spouse? No, sir. Don't do that. It's about hitting the glycemic level of your diabetic patients. So the phrase right now is hit early and hit hard. And that is the right way to manage type 2 diabetes mellitus at current scenario. Why I am saying that? That is, I am going to prove by presentation. Content of today's talk is going to be why this presentation and what it is all about. Hit early and hit hard. Why I am saying that. The state of the nation. There is no doubt in the fact ever-rising prevalence of diabetes mellitus, both in India as well as globally. Uncontrolled blood sugar. In a developed country like USA, every alternate diabetic is not meeting their target so far as A1C is concerned. So you can imagine the scenario in India. Inertia from our part as well as from patients with diabetes. That is another responsible factor for not reaching the target A1C. Complication galore. Naturally, when you can't control patient's blood sugar level, so they will have both macro and microvascular complications, no doubt in that. Then, how do we meet the challenge of uncontrolled blood sugar? Probably the way is hit early and hit hard. Means once the patient is diagnosed for the first time with diabetes mellitus type 2, you should go for a strict lowering of their A1C level, maybe with combination therapy from the very beginning. Why? Because liver and metabolic memory will revisit the latest data regarding this. But it is all about legacy effect. It has been found that if your patients of diabetes mellitus, when they are treated to a lower A1C during their initial period of their disease, then they do have a benefit in the long term in terms of complications, both micro and macrovascular. It has been proved by different or several trials, which we will discuss tonight. Tools in our armamentarium to reach that target of 6.5. We can go with monotherapy, mostly with metformin. We go right now, and fixed dose combinations. And fixed dose combination, current Indian scenario, we will discuss. Visiting recent trials like Verify, what it has told us, how to go for treatment of diabetes mellitus type 2 once it is initially diagnosed, and then we'll go for conclusions and take home message. First, let us begin with the global burden of diabetes. It's a leading cause of death world over. Every 7 seconds, someone is estimated to die from diabetes or its complication like heart attack, stroke, peripheral artery disease, or ESRD. So, every 7 seconds, someone is dying of diabetes. Global prevalence in adults over 18 years of age, the global prevalence has almost doubled between the period 1980 and 2014. During this period, world population has grown by 70%, but diabetes has grown by 100%. Once a person does have type 2 diabetes, then there is 2 to 3-fold increased risk of heart attacks and strokes and kidney failure. Reduced blood flow and neuropathy in the feet increases the risk of foot ulcers and need for amputation. And major cause of partial vision loss or complete blindness, diabetes mellitus. In 2017, 42.49 crore people were living with diabetes world over, and 48% increase is expected by 2045. So the figure will reach to 62.86 crore. In my opinion, this is an underestimation because in third world countries, the process of reporting of diagnosed diseases is not that good enough to reflect the actual scenario. So actual numbers may be much more. Next slide, please. So, what are the challenges diabetes mellitus type 2 poses? Prevalence is rising both in urban and rural areas, as we can see from our clinical experience. It's occurring more and more in younger people. And once it occurs in younger people and they live with diabetes for a prolonged period of time, naturally the complications are more. As well, the prevalence of pre-diabetes is ever rising, that metabolic syndrome, that lifestyle changes, sedentary lifestyle, increased incidence of obesity, they are all contributing to this pre-diabetic status. Risk factors and diagnosis. We Indians are genetically predisposed for development of type 2 diabetes. And the environmental factors, especially in urban areas, you will see there is no playground left for the children to play. Space crunching, sedentary lifestyle, excess fatty and simple sugar consumption in diet. They are all contributing to this increased prevalence. Another problem is delayed diagnosis because of poor healthcare infrastructure. Awareness among public is not that high. Management problems like suboptimal diabetes control. This is really a problem, not only in our country, but world over. Reaching A1C target, we fail in every alternate question. Limited healthcare facilities and high cost of disease management. Once you look at those newer molecules, SGLT2 inhibitors, you will see the price. Most of our middle class patients, they can afford those treatments. GLP-1 receptor agonist, also almost unaffordable cost-wise. Next slide. Problem আছে?
না প্রবলেম অলরেডি পার্টিসিপেন্টের নামগুলো আসছে না, মানুষজন জয়েন করেছিল।
Okay. Then diabetes control status in India. What is the current scenario in India? Average A1C is 9%, far from the ideal 7 or 6.5. Prevalence of diabetes is 8%. Means 18 years and older, 8% in prevalence. Prevalence of pre-diabetes is 10.3%. So if you take these together, almost 20% or 1 in 5 adults, they are either pre-diabetic or prevalence is more in urban population. Maybe the lifestyle contributing to the increased prevalence in urban population. Complication profile of diabetes in India, as most of them are not ideally controlled or not reaching the target A1C, tend to develop complications. both micro and macrovascular. Microvascular complications include diabetic retinopathy in almost 20% of patients, diabetic nephropathy, 6.2% patients, diabetic neuropathy, almost 30% patients. Macrovascular complications includes foot infections, active ulcers, or gangrene, 1.3%. Healed ulcers in feet or healed gangrene, 1.6%. Forefoot or toe or leg amputation in 3.8% of patients. Cardiovascular complications including MI and stroke, 6.8%. Erectile dysfunction, 2.3%. Infections, respiratory infections, urinary tract infection, genital fungal infection in 2.1%. Cerebral stroke in 1.9% of diabetic population. So what has led to the complications? Why this increased burden of complications? Because of treatment inertia. Lack of adequate medication initiation to bring the blood sugar under control. Once the diabetic patient comes under us, we suffer from inertia. I'll discuss it later in detail. And hesitation for intensification of treatment and preferring the step ladder approach. This step ladder approach is the current recommendation from most of the endorsing authorities like ADA, EASD, and as part of the medical fraternity, we all follow those guidelines, and we go with step ladder approach. But is it the right approach? That we should consider at this point of time. Metformin is generally recommended as the first line therapy by most of the guidelines, including ADA and EASD. But further intensification of therapy is inappropriately delayed. In ADA guideline, they tell us after 3 months, assess the A1C. If not on target, just go for adding the second medicine as appropriate for that patient, taking into consideration the comorbidities and complications. But we tend to have a lackadaisical approach regarding intensification of treatment. Time to treatment intensification exceeded 1 year among those in whom metformin monotherapy failed. Patient comes to us, say, after 3 months, maybe he is not approaching the target A1C, and we say we should add another medicine. Doctor, just let me see for another 1 month or two. I will come up with more dietary control and more exercise, and I'll have a control over it. But that control never happens, and we also tend to delay. Sometimes we also feel or suffer from inertia to intensify our treatment protocol, and thereby unnecessary delay happens in intensification of treatment. According to enhanced survey, 1 in every 2 patients fail to achieve the A1C goal below 7%. This is the scenario in USA, the most developed country on earth. So we can imagine what is the position in India. Next slide, please. Then let us have a look on management patterns of type 2 diabetes mellitus patients in India. A cross-sectional survey of Indian physicians, what it showed, 41% physicians selected A1C level in between 7 and 7.4% to start monotherapy. To initiate dual therapy, 42.9% responders chose A1C level 8 to 8.4, while for triple therapy, 37.1% responders selected A1C level 9 to 9.4. I don't blame them because that's how ADA has told us to go for. They have told us once A1C is equal or more than 1.5%, go for dual therapy. That's why we are doing A1C 8 to 8.4, then we are going for dual therapy. But should we change this practice? That's the question. Should dual therapy be given with A1C between 6.5 and 7 rather than more than 8? That is the question we are going to address tonight. Means, even in a patient who is being diagnosed for the first time and having A1C of 6.5, 6.6 or 6.7, should he go with dual therapy? That's the question we are going to ask and try to find out the answer. Next. Why should we hit hard and hit early to fight diabetes? Now we will have to find the rationale behind it to hit hard and hit early. Landmark trials confirming concept of metabolic memory. UKPDS and UKPDS follow-up study has told us that the patients who received intensified treatment in the initial years of their diabetes, they did better in terms of both microvascular complication as well as cardiovascular mortality and MI. Steno 2 trial told us the same. Steno 2 trial in which an arm which underwent intensified A1C control along with S inhibitor and statin for as lipid lowering agent and BP target below 130/80, they did pretty well or much better than those who were treated conventionally. So those patients who attended A1C 6.5 during the initial year of their treatment in Steno 2 trial, they showed at the end of 15 years reduced mortality as well as reduced MI. So macrovascular complications were reduced as well as microvascular complications were lesser in the intense treatment group. Next. So legacy effect. Long-term beneficial effects of early intensive glucose control on macro and microvascular events in patients with newly diagnosed type 2 diabetes. So there is no doubt that advance on Steno 2, UKPDS follow-up study, they all have told us that if you control your patient's A1C with intense, rather target of 6.5 below 7, then your patients are bound to have benefit in terms of micro and macrovascular complications in long term. Early glycemic environment is remembered by the target organs. Eyes, kidney, heart, extremities, they all remember what happened during the early stage of diagnosis of diabetes mellitus. Patients with long-term exposure to high levels of hyperglycemia remains more susceptible to diabetes-related complications, even with subsequent lower levels of hyperglycemia. So, if a patient doesn't take care of glycemic level during initial period of their disease, and then he or she becomes a bit more conscious and strictly controls it, then also their complications doesn't reduce or lessen at the start of their getting control, because your systems do remember the initial hyperglycemic milieu. So it has got a legacy effect. So if you can control your diabetic patient's sugar in its early stage strictly, they will have benefit in terms of reduced occurrence of micro and macrovascular complication. Clinical and experimental studies have shown that reinstitution of good glycemic control after a period of poor glycemic control does not produce immediate benefits on the progression of retinopathy. So there is a legacy effect of memory, metabolic memory in your target organs. Despite an early loss of glycemic differences, a continued reduction in microvascular risk and emergent risk reductions for myocardial infarction and death from any cause were observed during 10 years of post-trial follow-up in EUCAPEDIUS. In EUCAPEDIUS post-trial follow-up studies, those patients who underwent intense A1C target reaching, they did better in terms of complications, both microvascular and macrovascular. And in overweight population, okay. Despite an early loss of glycemic control, in EUCAPEDIUS follow-up trial, what was shown that the intensified treatment, those who reached A1C target of 6.5 or like that, below 7, they fared better in terms of both micro and macrovascular complications. Myocardial infarction and cardiovascular mortality was reduced, especially in overweight population. Next one. Follow-up of blood pressure lowering and glucose control in type 2 diabetes advanced on. It also showed the intense treatment group. They had much lesser incidence of nephropathy progression and development of ESRD. And we know those patients who does have progressive renal disease in diabetic population, they tend to have more incidence of myocardial infarction and stroke. So, advanced on study which showed reduction in nephrological morbidities, they are bound to show macrovascular benefit in the long run. Let us wait for some time. Maybe it will demonstrate us the benefit in terms of macrovascular morbidities as well. You can see from here that there is 46% reduction in ESRD risk in the intensive treatment group. Next one. Years of life gained by myocardial multifactorial intervention in patients with type 2 diabetes. This is STENO 2 trial. In STENO 2 trial, what we did, one group, they went for intense control group, targeting A1C of 6.5. Another one target more than 7. The intense control group, they received S inhibitor and also statin when appropriate. They also had aspirin, irrespective of presence of ischemic heart disease or not. S inhibitor was also like that. And their target BP was 138. In less intense group or the conventional group, they achieved target of more than 7 A1C, blood pressure 140, 90 and above. They didn't receive S inhibitor and aspirin as a routine measure. And what did it show? At the end of 21 years, there was 7.9 years increased lifespan in intensely treatment group. And there was 8.1 years free of any CV event. So mortality was reduced as well as myocardial infarction and stroke were reduced. But this to happen, it took 16 to 20 years of time for reduction of both all-cause mortality and myocardial infarction. The legacy story, 21.2 years follow-up on risk of heart failure. The intensely treated group in STENO 2 trial also showed 70% reduction in hospitalization for heart failure. So, from these trials, what we can conclude, if we can control our diabetic patients' sugar intensely, means if we keep our target 6.5 A1C, then we will allow our patients to have benefits in terms of both micro and macrovascular complications in the long run. So we'll have to hit early and hit hard. How to do that? Right now we are going with metformin at the beginning. Then we are stepping up our therapy to reach the target. The trend is going to be changed pretty soon. So FDC, fixed dose combination, is going to be the normal in near future. So one of that component of FDC is going to be metformin. There is no doubt about that, because metformin is the first line pharmacotherapy suggested by all the major guidelines, ADA, EASD. Has good efficacy and produces some weight loss with a low risk of hypoglycemia. Has an overall good long-term safety profile. Almost no hypoglycemia, no weight gain, in fact, reduction of weight in some patients. Unprecedented database support. In fact, currently available medication, this one is the oldest. Proven benefits in cardiovascular protection, as you have seen in Wikipedia's follow-up trial, especially in overweight population, the myocardial infarction and cardiovascular mortality was reduced. All other OADs can be considered as a second add-on to metformin. Now, to hit early and hit hard, one component is metformin. What should partner it? What should be its partner to go for as a fixed dose combination therapy? Next one. Let us have a look over that. The legacy effect in type 2 diabetes, impact of early glycemic control on future complications. Again, we are going back to that legacy effect. The diabetes and aging study, they also said the same thing. Those patients who had A1C around 6.5 for the first year after diagnosis, they did much better in terms of both micro and macrovascular complications. So this is another study which proved that legacy effect. So fixed dose combination. Glycemic durability of an early combination therapy with vildagliptin and metformin versus sequential metformin therapy in newly diagnosed type 2 diabetes, a 5-year multi-center randomized double-blind trial. So to go for that concept of hit early and hit hard, we should combine a partner with metformin, because metformin is the undoubtedly the best choice as first line. So we should find out a partner for it. So far, only one trial we are having that is verified, which has addressed this question of hit early, hit hard principle, and that is verified trial, and that is combining vildagliptin with metformin. Next one. Early treatment intensification is beneficial. That is what verified trial has told us. In patients with A1C more than or equal to 6.5, but less than or equal to 7.5, in the range between 6.5 and 7.5, metformin and vildagliptin fixed dose combination fared much better than metformin monotherapy. So they included half of their patients, they underwent therapy with fixed dose combination of vildagliptin and metformin, and half of them received only metformin. What are the results? Let us find out. Findings were like that fixed dose combination of vildagliptin and metformin did much better in terms of treatment failure, primary treatment failure. What does it mean? Means once you have started treatment with some medication, a time will come when that medication will be not enough to keep your A1C level on target. That is the point of primary failure. What was seen that when you are using fixed dose combination of vildagliptin and metformin, that time is getting prolonged. I will come to that later in detail. But being influenced by the findings of verified trial, ADA 2020 guidelines for the first time have said combination therapy can be used in initiation. Recommendations made by the ADA, early combination therapy can be considered in some patients at treatment initiation to extend the time to treatment failure. So they are coming out from that concept of starting with metformin alone and then stepwise intensification of treatment of your treatment. They have now recommended in some patients early combination therapy. Intensification of treatment for patients with type 2 diabetes are meeting treatment goals should not be delayed. So what ADA position was in 2019? Consider initiating dual therapy in patients with newly diagnosed type 2 diabetes who have A1C more than 1.5%. So it should be 8 or more than 8. This was the position in 2019. But in 2020, what they are saying us, early combination therapy can be considered in some patients at treatment initiation to extend the time to treatment failure. To extend the time to treatment failure, they are recommending initiation with combination therapy in some patients to extend the time for treatment failure. Right now, the only trial with fixed dose combination before us is verified trial, which did the trial with a fixed dose combination of vildagliptin and metformin. ADA 2020 guidelines recommend early combination based on the verified trial. So being influenced by the findings of verified trial, ADA told stepwise addition of medication to metformin has always been the standard of care, but verified trial has demonstrated a superior approach with vildagliptin metformin fixed dose combination. It now recommends considering initial combination therapy for extending the time to treatment failure. Often we see our patients whom we start with metformin alone after 2.5 or 3 years time, they tend to fail to respond in terms of reaching A1C target. So verified trial, being influenced by verified trial findings, ADA has suggested some patients should be initiated treatment with fixed dose combination of vildagliptin and metformin. Next one. Fixed dose combination basically an Indian concept. We used to use fixed dose combination treatment for our TB patients, rifampicin, isoniazid, ethambutol, pyrazinamide, bactrim, same tablet. In those days, Western people used to use those molecules in different tablets. They didn't prefer that. In 1970s, we went for fenformin chlorpromide combination to treat our diabetic population. Nowadays, even in Western countries, they do go for fixed dose combinations to treat each and every disease. 4 decades later, it is proven that FDC of metformin and vildagliptin gives safe, secure, and sustained A1C controls. Incretin-based therapy. So, for going to hit early and hit hard, we have got one partner, that is metformin. Now, what we are searching? We are searching its partner to be added as a fixed dose combination with metformin. Now we are going to give a look to incretin-based therapy. Incretin-based therapy, they give significant A1C reduction up to 3.4%. Sustained A1C reduction over a period of 5 years. With incretin-based therapy, low incidence of hypoglycemia, and most of them are cardiovascular safe. Now let us have a look over verified trial. The reason behind this change, why we are going with initial fixed dose combination medication to treat our diabetic population at its early stage. Why? Because the findings of verified trial has suggested in favor of that approach. Verified trial is a randomized, double-blind, parallel group study of newly diagnosed patients with type 2 diabetes mellitus. It assessed safety and efficacy of metformin-vildagliptin fixed dose combination versus metformin monotherapy in early diabetes patients. 1:1 randomization. One group received fixed dose combination of metformin-vildagliptin, another group only metformin. Baseline characteristics were mean age was 54 years, BMI around 31.2 average, mean A1C 6.7. So it's not that high, 6.7, but still vildagliptin metformin combination was used in half of patients. Key inclusion criteria: adults more than 18 years or less than 70 years, diagnosis of type 2 diabetes below 24 months, means below 2 years, A1C between 6.5 and 7.5, BMI between 22 and 40, treatment naive or patients who initiated metformin within 1 month prior to visit 1 and take a total daily dose up to 2 grams. So new patients, newly diagnosed patients, A1C between 6.5 and 7.5. Next. This is how verified trial was conducted. Now, what was seen? Metformin, vildagliptin, fixed dose combination fared much better than metformin monotherapy. In terms of what? In terms of treatment failure, time to treatment failure. Cumulative probability of initial treatment failure, 61 months with metformin vildagliptin and 49% risk reduction in the time to treatment failure with combination versus monotherapy. Those patients who received metformin as monotherapy, they did develop treatment failure at the end of 36 months on an average. But those patients who went with fixed dose combination therapy with metformin and vildagliptin, they developed primary treatment failure on an average at the end of 61 months. So there is a 49% risk reduction in the time to treatment failure. So to delay time to second treatment failure as well, those patients who were receiving vildagliptin and metformin from the beginning of their treatment, and those who were treated initially with initially with metformin, then received vildagliptin when it failed after 36 months. The secondary treatment failure was also delayed by that group, who received vildagliptin metformin from the beginning. So both time to primary treatment failure as well as second treatment failure was delayed by initiation of treatment with fixed dose combination of vildagliptin and metformin. So hit early and hit hard with metformin and vildagliptin fixed dose combination. Metformin should be the first line, no doubt. What should it be? What should be its partner? So far, only one trial with only one medication, that is vildagliptin, is before us. Maybe other medication when combined with metformin may give beneficial results, but evidence-based medicine before us right now is with vildagliptin FDC, metformin vildagliptin FDC. Sustained A1C control over an average period of 5 years. If you treat your initially diagnosed patients with vildagliptin metformin combination, You may be sure most of your patients are going to be at target A1C even at the end of 5 years. No escalation of therapy needed during this period. There is two times the glycemic durability versus metformin monotherapy, which lasts for 31 to 36 months. Metformin vildagliptin is an FDC tablet, so it is convenient. Compliance is better as it is available as a single dose medicine. In fact, both molecules, metformin and vildagliptin, added to a single tablet. Safety, sustainability, convenience, macrovascular safety encourages us to prescribe metformin plus vildagliptin fixed dose combination as first line in most of our patients. Metformin vildagliptin FDC can be started in treatment-naive patients and in patients uncontrolled on metformin. One might argue a patient initially diagnosed, maybe his A1C is 6.6, so low. Why should we go for combination therapy? The reason is the legacy effect. And second thing, once you combine vildagliptin with metformin, don't bother about development of hypoglycemia because both these medications, both metformin and vildagliptin, usually they are safe in terms of hypoglycemia. Next one. Hit diabetes early and hit hard. To improve immediate and long-term outcomes, hit early to control immediate outcomes like fasting blood sugar, A1C, PP blood sugar. Hit early to reduce long-term microvascular and macrovascular complications. UKPTS follow-up study, the Advance-On study, the Steno-2 trial, diabetes and aging study, they have all told us. Hit hard as most patients have high A1C and do not respond to monotherapy. As we have already told us that every alternate of our diabetic population are not reaching target. So from the very beginning, we should hit hard and go for combination therapy. Next one. This combination is CV safe. It's safe in terms of development of hypoglycemia. It's weight neutral. Both metformin and vildagliptin combination, they don't add to the weight of your patients. Next one. Vildagliptin CV safety, meta-analysis of 17,000 patients. What was found? Baseline characteristics of patients, mean age was 57 years, 27% of patients aged more than 65, mean BMI around 30.5, A1C around 8.1, mean duration of diabetes 5.5 years. 18% of patients had a history of CV disease and nearly 50% were considered to have high CV risk status. So high CV risk population was taken for this meta-analysis. What was found? It was found in comparison with, when compared with sulfonylurea or placebo or TZDs or metformin, there was no safety concern so far as cardiovascular mortality and macrovascular incidences are concerned. Next one. So, vildagliptin CV safety, meta-analysis of 17,000 patients. This large meta-analysis indicated that no increased risk of 3-point mesh with vildagliptin versus comparators. No increased risk of heart failure with vildagliptin. Vildagliptin is cardiovascular safe. And consistent results in all subgroups according to gender, CV risk, or age. So, what stopped us from intensifying therapy? Point one is fear of development of hypoglycemia and fear two, sulfonylureas, pioglitazone, insulin, they used to put weight on your patients. So weight gain. So hypoglycemia and weight gain prevented us from intensifying our therapy from the very beginning. Now, patients aged between 18 and 39 years and middle-aged adults 40 to 64 years have been found to have substantially higher glycemic levels than older adults, which is a missed opportunity. We are failing to target these populations, diabetic population, between 18 to 64, at young and middle-aged young populations. So this is a great opportunity to go for FDC to treat these patients. Treating patients with diabetes earlier and more intensively has the potential to confer substantial long-term improvements in public health. They do prevent both micro and macrovascular complications in the long run. Next. So hit early, hit hard with vildagliptin and metformin FDC, or add vildagliptin to those patients who are already on metformin. Thank you.
Uh, Thank you, all audience doctors.